Hi, I'm David Reevely, and this is John Willing. We report from Ottawa City Hall for Post Media. Here to talk about some of the big issues that the city's been dealing with this week. And of course, the biggest one has been the tornadoes and high winds that ripped through the city at the end of last week and the efforts to put things back to normal. John, you were covering Ottawa City Council this morning. What did they talk about?
Well, City Council actually made a decision to waive building and demolition fees for people who have been affected by the storms, who are trying to rebuild their homes. And so usually you have to pay the city some money to get some permits. Council decided this morning that they would not take in any money. Those permits will be free. Another thing the city decided is that they would expedite a lot of those permits. You know, there's the development industry that requires permits all the time. One of the things we heard from the city's general manager of planning, Stephen Willis, is that those people in the development industry and those people who have been undergoing renovations not related to the storm might have to be patient and wait to get their permits because the city's sole focus is on recovery and helping people who have been affected by the storms. And one of the big things affected, of course, by the storms, as people will know, is the hydro system. And you wrote quite a bit about how the hydro system works. What do you think about the performance of Hydro Ottawa?
I think everyone is pretty impressed with them. I think a lot of councillors in particular were told very early on that recovery and getting the lights back on could take many days, potentially weeks in some of the hardest hit areas. And that has turned out not to be the case. Hydro Ottawa and Hydro One, the provincial utility, worked very hard all weekend, and by Sunday night they had most of the lights back on, which I think has impressed a lot of the politicians who had to transmit a lot of information to their constituents and everybody wanting to know when their fridges were going to be humming again and when they were going to be able to read at night and have internet access again. I think if there's one area where Hydro Ottawa did fall down, and they admit to it, it was with that communication. If you had your power out or were just interested in what was going on and were checking out Hydro Ottawa's outage map online, pretty much right away on Friday you saw it fall apart. If you could even load the page, you couldn't get current information. If you were looking at it on Saturday morning, you'd be hitting refresh and the numbers would go from 60,000 people out to 160,000 people out to 80,000 people out. The underlying database was broken. And Bryce Conrad, who's the chief executive at Hydro Ottawa, when I talked to him yesterday, he said, yeah, this is clearly a thing that failed, and next time something like this happens, he said he absolutely guarantees that nothing like this is going to happen again. Next time it happens, people will be able to get proper information.
You know, one thing I found interesting today, David, was that Bryce Conrad was in this room during the council meeting, and as the mayor was thanking emergency services and city staff and community organizations, he got to Bryce Conrad and Hydro Ottawa, and everyone got up on their feet and gave Bryce Conrad a standing ovation. I think the city management, I think politicians around this table are very happy with the performance of Bryce Conrad and, well, quite frankly, all the hydro workers in the city.
Mm-hmm. Certainly what the hydro workers were doing was spectacular. When I talked to Conrad last, he said that they were working 16 hours a day and they only stopped because the law said they had to, and they would be sleeping in their trucks, they were sleeping on couches in their work yards, and just doing everything they absolutely could, everything possible to get the lights back on. And actually, I mean, as a reporter, and I think you probably share this, one thing that I'd noticed was how good a job Hydro Ottawa and Hydro One did communicating with us. As we were trying to explain to people what was going on, we got straight answers from them very quickly, and I was quite impressed with their response on that front, so that we could transmit that information to the public quickly. It's rare.
And one thing that I've heard from the city is that they're trying to figure out the next time something like this happens, and hopefully there isn't, but how to communicate with residents who aren't plugged into social media. I know you and I, David, are watching social media all the time. A lot of our viewers out there are plugged into social media and Twitter and Facebook, but there's a lot of people who aren't paying attention to the internet, not having cell phones refreshing all the time. So the city is really putting some thought into how do we get out into the communities to tell people, seniors, you know, especially, about what's going on in the recovery efforts.
Since those are going as well as they are, the politicians are really getting back to politics now. We have a race for mayor going on. Election day is in just a few weeks. You've been following that pretty closely. You've been to a couple of mayoral debates. How have they been going? Well,
there was actually one Tuesday night at Carleton University. This one, David, actually featured 10 candidates. There are 12 candidates for mayor. 10 of them participate in this debate. Clive Doucette and Jim Watson participated in this debate, and we really saw that this election could use a one-on-one between the incumbent Watson and Clive Doucette, who we see as really his toughest opponent in the race. I don't think we're going to get that one-on-one unless an organization comes up and says, you know, we just want a Watson and Doucette contest. And really, on Tuesday night, might have been the last time we actually see Watson and Doucette in a debate until, well, for the rest of the campaign, the elections on October 22nd. And there are debates coming up, but they have confirmed their participation at different ones.
Why do you think that's not going to happen?
I just don't think, number one, it takes an organization to plan something like that, and we haven't heard of an organization come forward to hold a one-on-one debate. I'm not 100% sure that Watson wants to do that kind of format. We heard from Clive Doucette on Tuesday night. He said, yeah, for sure, I'd be totally in for a one-on-one debate. He's very good speaking. He's very passionate when he talks. He's kind of a bit all over the place in the topics he speaks to. But I do think that the time is running out. We're less than a month away from the election, and I just don't see anyone planning another debate right now.
At least not a head-to-head. There are a couple of debates coming up, though. What are the next ones?
Yeah, you can find debates next week. So Monday, the Ottawa Board of Trade is holding a debate specifically on tourism and economic development issues. There's also another debate on Tuesday at Carleton University for gender-based issues. Watson is actually participating in the one on Monday. Doucette is not. And on Tuesday, Doucette is participating, but Watson is not.
Yeah, an interesting race, very lopsided. And Doucette's really trying hard to get his claws into the mayor, but without a whole lot of luck so far, I guess.
Yeah, I think time is running out. I know Doucette has a few more policy announcements. We're going to hear a lot more policy announcements from Watson, too. And I expect to hear just more ideas, more proposals from them over the next week.
So much more to come. Thanks for joining us for this week. I'm David Reevely. This is John Willing. We're here for Post Media.